I never imagined my act of kindness would link me to a missing billionaire's daughter. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started like any other Thursday. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that makes your heart race for no reason at all. I was at the coffee shop, fidgeting with my torn sleeve, when I noticed Hera girl sitting alone in the corner. Her face was pale, fear etched into her brow like a haunting shadow. Something tugged at my heart. I approached her, my hands trembling, unsure of what to say. "Are you okay?" I asked, and her eyes widened. They were such a striking shade of green, filled with unspoken stories. For a moment, the world fell away, the clinking of cups, the hum of chatter, it was just us. But that fleeting connection shattered when a loud bang sliced through the air. The barista dropped a tray, and chaos erupted. The girl flinched, almost as if the sound was a bullet whizzing past her. In that instant, the reality of her fear gripped me. I grabbed her hand, my heart pounding, a wave of protectiveness surged through me. She clutched back, her palm cool and damp. "Please help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible beneath the noise. There was something desperate in her tone that sent chills down my spine. I nodded, confused but instinctively trusting. That's when I noticed the glint of something silver around her neck, a locket. It shimmered darkly, and I could almost sense the secrets it held. "Name?" I asked, just to break the suffocating silence wrapping around us. "Lila," she replied, her breath shuddering. But just then, the door swung open with a crash. A group of men stormed in, their faces tight with purpose, scanning the crowd. I felt the room go cold. Their eyes met mine for a fleeting moment, and a shiver ran down my spine. "Lila! Come here!" one of them shouted. Panic flashed across her face like lightning. She looked at me, and for a heartbeat, I saw the flicker of hope and dread mixed together. "They're looking for me," she gasped, glancing back at the men who were now advancing. My mind raced. Who was she? What had she done? I never asked for any of this. But standing there, I made a choice. I wouldn't let them take her. Grabbing her hand, I bolted towards the back exit. My pulse roared in my ears as we dashed through the alley, the stench of garbage swirling around us. The adrenaline coursed through my veins, reality blurring into a chaotic rush. Every heartbeat echoed my fear, every step felt like a countdown. Just when I thought we'd escape, she stumbled, her ankle twisting painfully. I turned back, ready to help her when the men rounded the corner. "They found us." "Lila!" one of them growled, his voice laced with anger and desperation. I shielded her instinctively, my heart racing. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice trembling. "We're family," he roared, and that single word sent shockwaves through me. Family? The world around us felt like it was spiraling out of control. My mind raced, but I stood my ground, fists clenched. Lila looked up at me with wide eyes, brimming with fear and something else, hope. I took a breath. How could my simple act of kindness lead to this? And just like that, it all faded to black. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash the like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The darkness enveloped me like a heavy blanket, muffling the cacophony from outside. I blinked, trying to adjust to the void. Confusion clouded my thoughts as chaos receded, replaced by an unsettling silence. I felt Lila's grip slacken, and instinctively, I reached out to reassure her, but the moment was fleeting. In that dimness, I recalled the last words of the man, their urgency still echoing in my mind. Family? It felt like a riddle wrapped in confusion. Who were they, and why was Lila running from them? Suddenly, a flicker of light broke through the fog, illuminating a narrow space. I instinctively ducked, pulling Lila down with me as the shadow of a figure moved beyond the doorway. My heart raced as we pressed together behind the damp wall, the scent of musty bricks filling my nostrils. Lila. The voice was closer now, sharp and authoritative. You can't hide forever. My pulse quickened. This would be the moment Lila would either crumble beneath the weight of her fear or find strength to navigate through it. I felt her breath against my skin, a mix of terror and something deep-era fragile determination. Then, an unexpected softness took over. "They're my father's men," she whispered, just loud enough for me to catch her every word. "I can't go back, I don't want to go back." The quaver in her voice struck a chord within me. But why? My curiosity pierced through the murkiness of the situation, and I couldn't help but ask. She hesitated, the tremor in her words sending shivers down my spine. "I'm not who they think I am. I'm not their perfect little girl." Just then, a faint light flickered over us, and I froze, holding my breath. A silhouette stepped into the alley, a man clad in a dark coat, his expression hidden. I couldn't shake the feeling that he knew more than he let on. "Lila, come out. We can work this out." The softness in his tone contrasted sharply with the iron grip of authority. "Work this out?" Lila scoffed under her breath, rage fueling her whispered words. There was a fire within her, and it sent rivulets of warmth coursing through me. "Stay low," I murmured, my own sense of bravery ignited by her courage. In this strange turn of events, we were in it together. Still crouched in the shadows, I felt her lean into me, her small frame trembling. Was it fear, or was it something else? I stole a glance at her face, but the shadows hid her expression from sight. Before I could speak again, the man's voice boomed, crackling with desperation. "You're making a mistake, Lila. You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into." In that moment, an idea sprouted within me, unclear and audacious, but hopeful. "Lila," I murmured, "if we can't stay here, then we need to find somewhere safe. There has to be a way to escape." But before she could respond, an unexpected hand landed on my shoulder, jolting me. I spun around to find an older woman standing there, her wild silver hair framing an expression of fierce determination. She held a small flashlight, casting dim light around the alley. "You two look lost," she said, her voice steady and reassuring. "Who are you?" I asked, bewildered. "I'm just a neighbor," she replied, her eyes sparkling with warmth. "It seems you found yourself in quite the predicament. Come with me quick." I hesitated. Trusting strangers had its own dangers, but there was something about her that felt different. Sensing my indecision, the woman stepped closer, urgency lacing her words. "If you trust me, I can keep you both safe. They won't find you if you come with me." Lila looked between me and the woman, her eyes searching for an answer in my face. What if it was a trap? But I saw the flicker of resolve within Lila, a silent plea that urged me to act. "Okay," I said, my voice strengthening. I grabbed Lila's hand once more. "Let's go." The woman led us through a series of narrow pathways, her small flashlight guiding us through the labyrinth of alleys. I felt Lila's hand tremble in mine, this moment stretching time into something suffocating. After what felt like ages, we emerged into a small courtyard lined with scraggly bushes. The air was still and heavy. "Your name?" the woman asked, her eyes darting between us. "Lila," she answered, her voice barely above a whisper. "And Mira," I added, trying to find within me the reassurance I wished for Lila. Good, good." The woman nodded, her demeanor softening. "I should have known. You both must be tired. Rest here for just a moment." As we sank onto the cobblestones, I noticed Lila's locket swinging softly against her chest. Suddenly, the silence felt weighted, pregnant with the unsaid truths left lingering between us. There was something lurking behind those locked emotions, some devastating truth that could shatter our fragile safety. "What's behind the locket, Lila?" I asked quietly, the question slipping out before I could hold it back. Her eyes widened, vulnerability blooming in the depths of those green orbs. "It's a family secret, a choice I never wanted to make." The air turned taut, filled with an enigmatic tension. Would she share it? Would it change everything? The woman's gaze flickered to the shadows, her eyes narrowing slightly as if sensing a disturbance. And just like that, the warmth of safety began to turn cold, the reality of our predicament crashing into the fragile hope we had just embraced. In the next moment, a loud crash echoed through the courtyard, startling all of us. Lila gasped, and I turned towards the sound, my heart dropping. The men were back, their voices echoing like thunder as they closed in on our hiding place. Lila! They bellowed, the desperation morphed into something lethal. Time hung thick in the air. Choices had to be made, and something primal pushed me forward. Whatever fear Lila held, I now mirrored it. What would we do next? In that moment of encroaching dread, I realized I had only two options: face the darkness together, or run back into the shadows where we could finally disappear. The air crackled with tension as the chaos outside intensified. I could feel the pounding of my heart, echoing the footsteps thundering closer. Some primal instinct urged me to protect Lila, but the weight of uncertainty pressed on my chest like a stone. Run! I whispered urgently, grabbing Lila's hand. The woman's eyes widened, and I could see the fear reflected in her gaze as she instinctively stepped closer to us. Wait! She hissed, but the voices were growing louder, more commanding. Lila! We know you're in there. The authoritative tones had a chilling resonance, striking fear into the very fibers of my being. You can't escape your past. Lila tugged at my arm, her face a portrait of confusion and anxiety. What do we do? Her voice trembled, and despite the fear that gripped me, I felt a surge of resolve stir in the depths of my heart. Stay low, I said, though I wasn't sure what I could do next. I didn't know where we would go, but I knew we had to act quickly. The darkness pressed upon us, urging our escape. With instinct guiding me, I motioned for us to follow the older woman, who was already weaving her way towards a narrow passageway at the back of the courtyard. My pulse raced as we sucked in our breath, aware that every moment brought us closer to being trapped. Just as we slipped around the corner, the sound of footsteps took on an eerie rhythm, and a shiver ran down my spine. I risked a glance back just in time to see a dark figure enter the courtyard, scanning the area like a hawk. Lila! He called again, frustration lacing his voice. You can't hide from us. We pressed further into the shadows, my mind racing. Thoughts of Lila's past tangled with my own faces of those I had lost, choices I had to make. Each step felt like a march towards something unknown, an uncertain destiny waiting on the other side. As we navigated the cramped passage, the woman led us through a series of twists and turns, the walls closing in as if nature itself conspired to entrap us. The jagged bricks pressed against me, a physical reminder of our dire situation, but Lila's presence anchored me. What now? I whispered, the urgent need for a plan nagging at me. I glanced toward the woman, hoping for guidance, but her expression had turned pensive and distant, as if she were processing a memory long lost. There's a safe house nearby, she murmured, breaking her reverie. But we need to move quickly. She cast a lingering glance behind us, her eyes darkening. The urgency of our plight seeped into my bones. What about the men? I pressed, forcing another surge of courage into my voice. They'll find us, they won't expect the back exit. She nodded firmly, leading us towards a wrought iron gate partially concealed by overgrown ivy. Well, take the hidden paths. You must trust me. This woman, who had materialized from the shadows, seemed to possess an innate knowledge of this place, a knowledge we desperately needed. I exchanged a glance with Lila, a flicker of faith shining through her apprehension. Just hold on to me, I said, tightening my grip on her hand, the warmth of her skin grounding me against the turmoil of our surroundings. We slipped through the gate and into an overgrown garden that seemed frozen in time. Branches arched overhead like skeletal fingers, and the air was thick with an earthy scent, mingling with the anxiety that swirled around us. Stay low, the woman instructed, her voice barely above a whisper as we moved stealthily through the thicket. I felt Lila's heart race beside me, our breaths synchronized in the fear that enveloped us. Then, just as we reached a point where the garden opened into a broader alley, the woman froze, her posture shifting. Listen, she pointed towards the other side, where the cacophony of voices began to dissipate, rendering the air eerily quiet. Is it safe? I asked, my voice strained, her eyes narrowed, and she seemed to peer beyond the trees as if a storm was brewing just beyond the horizon. "It's too quiet," she muttered uneasily. Before I could respond, a piercing scream shattered the stillness, echoing against the ancient stones surrounding us. "Lila! They've found the safe house." A visceral panic surged through me. I turned to Lila, dread pooling in my stomach. "We have Torin!" Lila screamed, breaking free from my hold and dashing into the tangled foliage. "Lila!" I shouted, but she was already a few steps ahead, her green eyes ablaze with determination. The woman hesitated, torn between two choices. Everything in me told me to follow Lila, but I couldn't leave this stranger to face whatever lay behind us. "Come on," I urged, pulling her forward as the sounds of approaching footsteps grew louder. As we sprinted through the underbrush, branches snagged at my clothing, the darkness weaving around us like a predator hunting its prey. I could barely keep Lila in sight, her figure darting through shadows, an angel caught between light and dark. But just as we emerged into a street illuminated by flickering lamplights, my heart dropped. The alley was blocked off by several men, small flashes of light catching the glint of their weapons. Bile rose in my throat as dread tightened my chest. "Lila! No!" Trembling, I searched for any possible escape, but it was clear the men had secured our path. The woman at my side appeared resolute, but I could sense her uncertainty, her confidence now faltering as she realized the gravity of the situation. "Together!" she cried, a hint of defiance coloring her tone. But Lila, caught in the spotlight of danger, hesitated. Mira, what if? And just then, a low voice emerged from the shadows, chilling and familiar. "Lila, it's time to come home." I felt the blood drain from my face. A realization washed over me, heavy and bittersweet. Her father's men had come for her, and whatever secrets lay hidden in that locket were about to unfold. "What's going on?" I breathed, the events spiraling out of my control. Lila's face paled, her uncertainty palpable as the figures closed in around us. "I don't know," she whispered, but in that moment, I sensed a flicker of resolve igniting within her. As the men advanced, I could feel the world crumbling around us, while the truth I hadn't yet fathomed loomed ominously on the horizon. Would we face it together? Or would her past tear us apart? Time hung in uncertainty, and I knew that decisions now held consequences that could shatter everything we dared to build. The silence that lingered after the man's chilling words was almost deafening. I stood rooted in place, the world swirling around me as Lilith's expression shifted from fear to something I couldn't quite grasp, defiance, perhaps, tinged with sadness. I had sensed a storm brewing, but this was beyond anything I had imagined. The men were closing in, their confidence radiating in the way they moved, as if they knew they held Lila's fate in their hands. I clenched my fists at my sides, every instinct screaming to protect her, to shield her from whatever darkness they were concocting. "Lila, please. We can still run," I urged, glancing back over my shoulder for any chance of escape, but the alley behind us was swallowed in shadows, a void where hope flickered like a fractured light. No. Lila's voice was steady, surprising me. "I'm done running, what are you talking about?" I stumbled over my words, desperation climbing my throat. "This isn't the time for bravery. Sometimes, to reclaim your life, you need to face the truth," she interrupted, her gaze fierce as she looked at me, determination igniting her green eyes. "They're here for me. I have to go to them." I felt my stomach drop, disbelief crashing over me like a wave. "You can't be serious. They'll hurt you. Let's find another way." "No." The conviction in her voice cut through my panic. "If they wanted to hurt me, they would have done it already. This is about more than just mites, about everything that happened, everything I lost." Before I could respond, the men surged forward, their leader stepping into the soft glow of a lamppost. He was tall and imposing, with a predatory glint in his eyes. "Lila," he called again, his voice smooth like poison, "come with us. Your father is waiting." A flicker of recognition surged within me, a name I had overheard in hushed conversations, a billionaire, a man infamous for his ruthlessness and control. I reached for Lila, my fingers brushing her wrist, urging her to reconsider. "We don't have to do this," I pleaded. "This doesn't make sense." She turned to me, her expression softening slightly, and for a fleeting moment, the chaos around us seemed to fade. I've spent too long hiding from the past. I need to face what I've run from. I need to know the truth about who I am. My heart sank deeper into despair. And what if that truth destroys you? Then I'll go knowing I tried, she asserted, pulling away from my cautious grip. I was losing her, and the desperation in my chest surged like a tidal wave. But Lila was gone. She had stepped 1 foot closer to the men, drawing their attention away from me. If I didn't act now, I'd lose everything, me feelings for her, our shared moments, our chance at escape. I couldn't stand by, watching her surrender. Lila, no! I shouted, lunging forward, but before I could reach her, one of the men intercepted me, grabbing my shoulder with a grip like iron. Move back, kid, he ordered, threats lingering in his tone. You can't take her. I yelled, fueled by a surge of protective instinct. The leader lifted a hand, and the man holding me hesitated. Let him through, he commanded. This should be interesting. Tension hung thick in the air, and Lila's eyes darted between us, uncertainty creeping back into her expression. I was a wild card in her planned confrontation, and it terrified me. Lila, look at me, I implored, my voice barely a whisper amid the growing chaos. Don't let them manipulate you. You're stronger than this. We can find a way. A flicker of doubt crossed her features, but it vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. I have to know, she insisted, resolutely taking another step towards the men, but I could see her resolve wavering. Perhaps the echo of my words had reached her heart. The leader stepped closer to Lila, his eyes narrowing. Your father was worried, he said silkily. We've been looking for you. You belong with us now. As he extended a hand toward her, something shone in the tepid light, the locket I had once seen her clutching. But now it lay half open, revealing a glimmering key nestled inside, a key that seemed to whisper of secrets and promises lost in the shadows of time. A jolt of realization shot through me. Was that key the answer to a depth of pain she had endured? My eyes widened, and I dug deeper into my thoughts, but the moment shattered as Lila hesitated. Torn away, I said suddenly, grasping at the fleeting chance. Lila, that key, what does it unlock? You can't trust them. We can uncover your past together. My voice rose, desperation threading through each word. The leader chuckled, a low, menacing sound. Is that right, boy? What would you know of her past? And that's when I saw a flicker of hope in Lila's gaze mingled with doubt as she regarded the leader and me in one breath. Lila, do you really know where that key will lead you? I pressed, my heart racing as I felt the delicate balance of control in this moment shift. Let's uncover it together. The men shifted restlessly, and in that charged pause, time stretched as reality nudged against a precipice. Would she turn back towards me, or would the call of her origins pull her deeper into the clutches of a world I knew was dangerous? With every heartbeat echoing in the silence, the weight of secrets lingered heavily in the air, ready to unravel in ways none of us could yet comprehend. I held my breath, caught between the dark unknown of Lila's past and the fragile tendrils of courage that still bound us together, each moment ticking towards an uncertain conclusion. But then, just as I thought Lila might make her choice,
Oh, Lila, I whispered as realization crashed over me like waves. And before I could stop her, she turned from me as if beckoned by something more profound than fear. A choice she was determined to accept, no matter the cost. As she walked into the shadows, I felt the rupture of our bond, and with it, the storm reeled like a monstrous entity expanding its hold on our lives. Lila, no. But I was too late. The shadows enveloped her, and as they consumed her presence, all hope flickered, leaving me alone in the storm, surrounded by chaos, the darkness whispering my worst fears. Your choice is already made. The world spun around me, a disorienting storm of wind and shadows swirling like an angry tempest. My heart raced wildly, a frantic drumbeat echoing in my ears as I stood rooted to the spot, frozen in disbelief. Lila. She was gone, swallowed by the very darkness we had fought against. The weight of that loss settled heavy on my chest, suffocating me, as despair engulfed everything I thought I knew. And oh no, this can't be happening, I stammered, desperation clawing at my throat. I clutched at the empty space where she had just stood, as if my fingertips could summon her back from the abyss. The storm continued to howl, a cacophony of anguish that mirrored my own, but somewhere deep inside, a faint spark of defiance flickered, an echo of Lila's last words. Together, I couldn't let that flame be extinguished without a fight. Gripping the edges of my resolve, I took a tentative step forward, drawn toward the shadows that had consumed her. "Lila," I called, my voice swallowed by the wind. The shadows whispered, a sinister chorus weaving tales of doubt and despair, but I pushed through the noise, resolved to find a path to her. With every labored breath, I reminded myself that she was still there somewhere. My feet carried me deeper into the chaos, the storm's icy fingers brushing against my skin, stinging with urgency. Each gust of wind was filled with a haunting Memoria's shared laugh, the gentle touch of her hand, her unwavering strength igniting a passion inside me that I had never known. But looming above those memories were dark shapes, looming figures that melded with the shadows, mere extensions of the fear I felt rising in my chest. Suddenly, I stumbled upon remnants of the path, what had taken only moments before the broken branches and twisted trees were etched in my memory. But now they looked different, transformed by the storm. A soft glow emerged from the darkness, a flicker of light buried deep among the remnants. Curiosity pulled me closer, my heart pounding like thunder at the thought that perhaps hope lay hidden in the chaos. As I approached, I could see where the light refracted through the shadows, creating a shimmering barrier of energy. Voices echoed from behind it, layered and dissonant, mingling fear with Longinga's symphony of lost souls reaching out through the veil. "Help us, save her," the resonance chilled me, yet I felt a strange warmth creeping into my soul as the voices drew me into their circle. They were pleading, desperate for relief, and in that moment, I understood I was not alone in this fight. Others had been caught in this tempest, ensnared by their own fears. We could stand together, break our chains. "Who are you?" I shouted into the abyss, the light flickering in response, as if instinctively aware of my inquiry. "What do you want from us?" A form solidified within the light, a woman, spectral yet radiant, her eyes filled with compassion. "We are the reflections of our shadows," she said, her voice resonating like a soothing balm. "Each fear binds us, but hope can shatter the illusions. Lila, she is lost in the darkness," I confessed, despair welling in my throat. "I can't let her slip away. She has to know she's not alone." The woman stepped closer, the light illuminating her ethereal features. "You must help her find her way back. You are her anchor. But be warned, the road is fraught with danger. To conquer the shadows, you must face your own first." A cascade of realization washed over me, fears, my doubts, the things that gnawed at my insides like hungry wolves. Each one would manifest in ways I couldn't yet comprehend, threatening our fragile connection. "I don't know how to fight them," I admitted, my voice trembling. "You carry the light within you," she encouraged, her gaze piercing through the muddied manifestations of my soul. "In your love for her dwells the strength to overcome. You can shatter the illusion, but only if you face the darkness that lies within yourself." At that moment, the winds intensified, the storm responding viciously to the light. The shadows bristled and writhed, a dark chorus clamoring against my resolve. "You're wrong," I shouted against the chaos, my heart racing as doubt crashed against me like waves. But I thought of Lila, her hope, her laughter, the bond that had formed in the midst of despair. "I don't care how deep the darkness runs, I'm coming for you," I declared, fiercely gripping my determination. The woman's expression softened, a smile echoing the warmth of 1,000 suns. "Then go. Follow the light until you find her again." With a surge of determination, I stepped through the emanating light, wrapping myself in its warmth as I plunged into the heart of the storm. It was time to face the shadows, but as I moved forward, doubt flickered once more, a haunting whisper, a dire warning echoing in the background. Just as I breached through the safety of that shimmering veil, I heard a chilling voice, the same that had reverberated through the storm before, deep and resonant. "You were too late, and you will fail her like all who came before." And with those words, a sudden wave of despair washed over me, the shadows thickening around my legs like shackles. My breath quickened as the formless collector of fears emerged from the depths. It lunged, fiery anger emanating from within, enveloping me as I staggered back. Alone in the storm, I remembered the warmth of Lila's presence, the strength of her spirit. As I dug my heels into the earth, fighting against the encroaching darkness, I realized this was only the beginning. Overcoming the shadows was not just about saving her, it was about breaking the cycle that bound us both. The choice was mine to make. And so, clinging to the flicker of hope, I roared into the tempest, ready to find Lila, ready to fight the darkness that threatened to consume us both. But as the shadows closed in tighter, I couldn't shake the gnawing fear that perhaps I too would be consumed before the battle began. This was merely the first act in a storm that knew no end. Despite the oppressive weight of despair that urged me to step back, I surged forward, adrenaline flooding my veins. With each breath, I recalled Lilith's laughter, her unwavering spirit that had illuminated my darkest moments. "I won't let you take me," I shouted, voice trembling but rooted in defiance. This defiance became my shield as the shadow lunged again, a cacophony of voices whispering insidious truths, threatening to drown me in their darkness. "You will fail," they hissed, swirling ever closer. "You do not belong here. You will lose her just like the rest." But as the chill scabbed at my skin, I closed my eyes and focused on the warmth of the light that had enveloped me moments ago. I could still feel its tingling energy thrumming beneath my skin, pushing back against the shadows. I thought of Lila, of her fearlessness in the face of adversity, her laughter ringing like a chime that echoed through my heart. "Your lies cannot silence the truth," I bellowed, a tremor of hope lifting my voice above the storm. The shape of the shadow flickered as I spoke, hesitant for a heartbeat. The air around me thickened. Each inhale tasted of ashes and smoke, but there was a sweetness that lingered beneath a promise of resolve. Summoning that essence, I pulled it forth, envisioning it as a light extending from my heart. "Lila," I cried again, my voice stronger now, a resonating beacon breaking through the sinister curtain. The shadows recoiled, their dense forms wavering, revealing glimpses of a battlefield of memory with her at its center, the sound of our shared moments emerging from the depths like a whisper of light, one flickering flame amidst the encroaching darkness. "I'm here," I murmured, my heart swelling against the pull of despair, igniting my resolve like a fire roaring to life. "I'm coming for you." But just as I envisioned breaking the borders that divided us, a wave of doubt rushed over me. What if I failed? What if I could never reach her? The shadow lunged one final time, knocking me backward against the unyielding ground, and I gasped as control slipped away, as terror threatened to consume me again. I felt the grasp of something cold seize my throat, tightening with an iron grip, rendering me breathless. Yet, in that agonizing moment of despair, a glow flickered in the corner of my vis. Iona chiming laugh echoed through my soul, sparking a memory. Lila had taught me that fear was nothing but a mirror reflecting our own weaknesses. It was a reminder that we could rise from its grasp stronger than before. "Remember the warmth," I whispered to myself, feeling a flicker of warmth surge within me, pushing against the cold grasp surrounding my breath. "Remember us." I fought the shadows with every ounce of strength I could muster, envisioning Lilith's smile. The shadows writhed, turning erratic and chaotic as they sensed the force that grew within me. "Fear is a choice," I screamed, clutching the light within my heart, which surged defiantly toward the darkness, pushing it away as if it were a mere illusion. "I choose love. I choose hope." As the brightness erupted from my heart, the shadows recoiled with undeniable force, drawn back by the incandescent light that fueled my spirit. The grip on my throat loosened as I breathed life back into my voice, each melodious note a declaration of my intent. I was not alone. Our bond transcended the boundaries of fear, but that flicker of hope was betrayed suddenly by a chilling scream, a voice I recognized far too well, echoing through the storm, longing and terrified. "Help me." It pierced through the chaos, and I froze, hearing Lilith's call woven through the tempest like a plaintive song of desperation. "Lila," I shouted again, heart pounding like a drum, the sound of her plea slicing through the fury. "I'm coming." The shadows recoiled once more, the veil between us thinned, but I could see now the clockwork of her imprisonment. I had been granted a glimpse through the lens of a consuming darkness, a chamber where the shadows danced cruelly yet vibrantly, puppeteering her every fear, feeding on her isolation. That I, in that brief moment, I understood. This darkness wasn't just a force threatening her. It was rooted in the very essence of who we both were, our doubts, our insecurities, those long-held beliefs that told us we weren't enough. The shadows embraced these thoughts, feeding on them relentlessly. Reaching deep within, I grasped the light I had cultivated, strengthened by love and memory. I will not let fear claim you. My voice thundered through the storm as I hurled toward the veil that separated us, determined to free her from the web of despair. But just as hope promised to forge a connection, the storm shifted unpredictably. A figure, cloaked in shadows but with familiar features, emerged from the hazy mirror of my own likeness twisted by darkness. The reflection laughed mockingly, a sound that reverberated with cruelty and familiarity. You think you can save her? It sneered. You are just a reflection of your own fears. And in that moment of revelation, I felt everything crash down, the heavy weight of truth bearing down like a tempest gathering strength. If I was to save Lila, I would first have to face this reflection of my fears, to accept that the very shadows before me had taken root within myself. With every ounce of strength, I eyed my dark twin, a tremor pulsing at my core. The battle was not just for Lila's soul, it was a war within myself. And as the storm raged on, fury morphed into understanding. It was within this storm of doubt that I would forge my path. Bring it on, I demanded, summoning resolve as shadows coiled around me, drawn to that flicker of light. I would not just fight for Lila. I would fight to reclaim every piece of myself the darkness had claimed, a new journey ahead that was bound to test our love and our faith against all odds. The storm roared in response, but I braced myself for the fight ahead, heart pounding, ready to face my own darkness. The storm rolled over me like a living, breathing entity, its fury palpable and relentless. Shadows writhed and twisted around my dark twin, who mirrored my every movement with mocking precision. I stood against this spectral version of myself, aware that it was not merely an adversary. It represented every insecurity, every fear I had buried deep within. The shadows' whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices echoing truths I tried to silence. You are nothing without her. You will lose, just like always. My heart raced, an anxious rhythm thrumming in my ears. But I channeled my desperation into defiance. I am more than my fears, I shouted, my voice cutting through the darkness, anchoring my resolve. The recognition of my fears, the acceptance of their existence, felt like an essential step toward overcoming them. Yet as the figure lunged toward me with outstretched arms, I could feel the weight of its intentionsa chilling embrace aimed not just to conquer, but to consume. I stepped aside, but it was too late. Its touch sent a shiver through my body, igniting memories of failure and despair. The echoes of past losses flooded my mind, each one a sharp reminder of my inadequacy. Stop it, I cried out, forcing the words from my lips. You don't get to dictate who I am. Hope surged within me as I remembered Lilith's unwavering belief in my strength, her fierce encouragement on days when I faltered. The warmth of her spirit was a balm against the cold malevolence wrapping around my heart. Lila, I shouted, my voice threaded with new determination. I was not just fighting for myself. I was fighting for her, for the love that warmed our hearts and bound us together. I concentrated on the memories we'd woven, the laughter, the stolen glances, the moments spent simply existing in one another's presence. That light was a flickering beacon across the battlefield. The shadow lunged again, but instead of fear, I felt clarity. I envisioned Lila smiling, her laughter like music filling the void around me, lifting my spirits. I closed my eyes, grounding myself in that moment. You cannot keep us apart, I roared, embracing my own vulnerability, allowing the light of hope to envelop me, igniting a flame that pushed back against the shadows. The reflection faltered, a flicker of uncertainty passing across its contorted face. What do you think will happen? It hissed, its voice laced with bitterness. You seek to free her? You cannot even free yourself. In that instant, I felt a rush of a tempest rising within me. Maybe not yet, I conceded, but I won't stop trying. My failures do not define me. They teach me. The air crackled with energy, and I pushed my light further, feeling it surge and break against the malevolent darkness. And then, a sudden silence. The storm stilled, and all that remained was the quivering energy hanging in the air between us, buzzing like a taut guitar string. My dark twin twisted, the shadows that embodied my fears coiling tighter around it. You think love will save her? It taunted, a hint of rage seeping into its mocking tone. I stood tall, my heart racing as an unbidden realization seeped into my consciousness. Love always finds a way, I declared, my voice steady and clear. With one final surge fueled by memories of Lila, I leapt toward my shadow, aiming to reclaim the light I felt slipping away. But as I lunged, a blinding flash erupted around me. The world shifted, and suddenly I was enveloped by silence, the storm dissolving into a dreamlike haze. I blinked and found myself in an alternate space, a calm room illuminated by streams of sunlight, lush greenery peeking through the open windows. Panic crashed over me like a tidal wave. Lila, I called out, my voice echoing against the walls. This place felt oddly familiar, yet unsettlingly foreign. The realization hit me. I had been transported away from the battle, but the absence of shadows ignited a sense of dread within me. Where was she? My heart thrummed violently against my chest, each beat threatening to drown me in despair. Just as I began to question whether I had succeeded or failed, a soft voice broke through my thoughts. You are here. I turned, breath hitching in my throat, as a figure emerged from the shadows, someone I hadn't expected. It was Amelia, Lila's sister. Her eyes were wide, glistening with an unfathomable sorrow. I thought we'd lost you both. Amelia, I breathed, stepping forward. Where's Lila? I need to find her. Her expression flickered with a mix of fear and confidence, her hands trembling as she clasped them before her. I can help you, but there's something you need to understand first, she said, her voice wavering. What if Lila's imprisonment is tied to something even darker than we realized? Before I could speak, a chilling wind gusted through the room, carrying whispers of despair as shadows shifted ominously at the edges of my newfound sanctuary. There it was again, a flicker of darkness creeping in, a reminder that the battle was not over. With a scream that pierced the silence, I realized that the storm was not finished with me yet, and I could feel the ground beneath my feet tremble. I wasn't just facing my personal demons anymore. I was now entwined in an even greater struggle for Lila's salvation. The truth rested heavy on my heart, an unexpected revelation that cast a new shadow over my hopes. Amelia, what don't I know? I demanded, my voice rising in urgency, as new fears began to swirl around me yet again. Her gaze met mine, sad, haunting, yet filled with a flicker of fierce determination. If we're to find Lila, we must confront the very essence of the darkness that binds her. Are you ready to face the truth? As the shadows rallied together around the threshold, I felt the ground tremble beneath me. My heart raced as I pondered the daunting path that lay ahead. I hesitated for only a moment, knowing deep down that this journey was one I had to take. I'll do whatever it takes, I vowed, the flicker of hope igniting anew within me, echoing against the impending tempest that lingered at the edge of both our realities. Amelia's eyes searched mine, the weight of our conversation pressing heavily between us. We're running out of time, she urged, her voice steady but tinged with fear. The shadows are growing bolder. They thrive on doubt and despair. We have to confront the heart of this darkness if we're going to save Lila. I squared my shoulders, the adrenaline from both our circumstances and my newfound purpose surging through me. What do we need to do? I asked, my voice firm despite the uncertainty swirling in my gut. Amelia gestured toward the far wall, where shadows danced provocatively, flickering and morphing like serpents. There's a doorway hidden there, she said, fear melding into determination. Only by passing through can we find the source of Lila's imprisonment. The shadows seemed to pulse in response, whispering secrets I could not quite grasp. I felt their cold fingers brushing against my skin, disquieting yet enticing. But fear gave way to purpose. I could not let those whispers drown out my resolve. Lila needed me, and I refused to let her down again. As I approached the wall, I could feel Amelia's eyes on me, an anchor against the tide of fear threatening to pull me under. You don't have to do this alone, she said quietly, the solidarity in her voice offering a small comfort. But I'm the one they want, I replied, forcing myself to confront the shadows that writhed in anticipation. I am the embodiment of their darkness. No, Amelia protested, shaking her head fervently. You are more than that. You carry the light that can dispel them. Let it guide you. With her words reverberating in my heart, I reached out toward the shadows. The murmurs coalesced into haunting words, grasping at my fears, daring me to turn back, but I pushed through the tumult. Whatever lies beyond, I am ready, I declared, my voice ringing with newfound conviction. In one swift motion, I pressed my palm against the wall, and the darkness shivered violently, like a living entity resenting my touch. The surface rippled, revealing a passageway that twisted into the unknown, a space bathed in ethereal fog. Stay close, I instructed Amelia, and we stepped into the void together. The world warped around us, colors blending and melting into a kaleidoscope of confusion. Each heartbeat reverberated through my veins, echoing the chaos we had just left behind. But amidst the swirling shadows lurked an unsettling silence, as if the very fabric of this place held its breath. When the haze began to clear, we found ourselves in a cavernous chamber illuminated by an unearthly light. The walls were alive with the shadows of lost souls, their faces distorted with anguish, pleading for release. I felt my heart sink as I glimpsed the suffering surrounding us, their specters a reflection of my own dark thoughts. "Lila," I whispered, searching desperately within the mass of shadows, but she was not there. I turned to Amelia, my desperation mounting. "Where do we begin?" Amelia pointed to a pedestal at the center of the room, where an ancient tome lay, bound in leather that seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own. "That book," she said, grim determination in her eyes, "holds the knowledge of what binds Lila. We have to read it." A shiver raced down my spine as I approached the pedestal. My fingers brushed against the cover, and the shadows slithered around me, growing restless. "And if it leads us to the darkness itself?" I asked, the weight of anticipation pressing against my chest. "Then we face it together," Amelia responded, her voice fierce and unwavering. Together we lifted the lid, and the pages quaked beneath our touch, releasing a breath of chill that swept through the chamber. Words materialized, lining the text with a disturbing clarity. As my eyes scanned the inscription, my heart dropped. "It says," I began, my voice trailing off as dread pooled within me. "The one who harbors the greatest fears has unwittingly tethered their loved one to the darkness." I looked up sharply at Amelia, the implications sprawling out before us like an insurmountable wall. "You don't mean she started?" Her voice barely a whisper. "I do," I confirmed, the shadows laughing coldly around us. "And the reason Lila is trapped. My fears have chained her to this darkness." Amelia's expression softened, her heartbeat echoing the shock of the revelation. "No, it's not just you. We've all contributed. But realizing it is the first step." Around us, the shadows loomed larger, their frustration palpable, almost tangible as they pressed in closer. "Do you see?" A voice boomed from the edges of the chamber, resonating with both anger and sadness. "You are all connected by failure, bound by the very fears you should overcome. She will be lost to you forever." I stole a quick glance at Amelia, desperation nearly swallowing me whole. "How can this be stopped? How can we save her?" The voice suddenly shifted from a roar to a sibilant hiss, a mocking tone that slithered into my ear. "Face it, you will never be free of the darkness. It is a part of you." A pulse of rage flared within me, and I took a step forward. "You don't get to decide my fate. We will break this chain together." The words erupted from me, defiance fueling my spirit. With every ounce of strength I possessed, I turned back to the book and read the words aloud, letting the pronunciations cut through the air like a knife. The shadows writhed violently, shrieking as light burst forth from the pages, illuminating the chamber and piercing through the oppressive darkness. But then, amidst the chaos, the shadows morphed into a single figure. It was a silhouette I recognized all too well, its features obscured but the presence unmistakable. "You're too late," it cried, laughter curling like smoke around us. "Lila is lost, imprisoned beyond the reach of even your bravest attempts." The air grew thick with dread, and I felt my stomach knot. No, not again. But the truth lingered heavily, the darkness closing in around us as I realized the stakes had risen again. I was fighting not just for Lila's freedom, but for a chance at my own redemption. With a heart full of grit and a mind racing against despair, I locked eyes with Amelia. "We will find her. We have to. I refuse to lose her." As the shadows lunged, I felt another heat of determination surging within me, but a whisper of doubt flitted through as well. Was I truly strong enough to face whatever darkness awaited us next? All I could do was take one step forward into the unknown, hoping against hope to find Lila once more, knowing that this journey was only just beginning. The light from the tome flickered erratically, casting distorted shadows that danced across the chamber like phantoms of despair. Each pulse felt like a heartbeat, a reminder that time was slipping through my fingers. I clenched my teeth, my resolve solidifying against the tides of fear that threatened to overwhelm me. We have to discover how to break this tether, I insisted, my voice adrenaline-fueled. Amelia stepped beside me, her fingers trailing through the light as if it were a lifeline. Look deeper, she urged, her eyes scanning the remaining pages that flickered like dying embers. It's not just about us. It's about Lila. As if my very thoughts had conjured her essence, a rush of memories filled my mind. Lilith's laughter echoing through sunlit afternoons, her gentle smile offering warmth even on the coldest days. The shadows balled into tight knots around the corners of the chamber, taunting as whispers of my own self-doubt crept back in. Lila had known light. I had let my darkness consume her. Together, we need to be brave, I murmured, focusing on Amelia's determined gaze. Let's look for more. The pages fluttered violently in response, revealing a series of diagrams that portrayed the connection between fear and the shadows. A central circle depicted a heart, cradling vines ensnared by thorny chainsaw, striking image of entrapment. It says here, I began, trembling, fear feeds the darkness. Love can sever the chains. But how do we harness that love when it feels like it's lost? Amelia's voice trembled lightly, a chasm of uncertainty widening between her words. The shadows, momentarily quiet, seemed to hang on her every syllable, savoring the fear in her heart. Be why remembering, I replied, a flicker of understanding igniting within me. Lila is not just a victim of this darkness. We must remind ourselves of how we love her. The more vividly we recall her spirit, the more power we hold against this despair. She nodded, determination reigniting her features. Let's do it at AS. I closed my eyes and focused. The chamber faded, and I could almost hear Lilith's voice amidst the Shadowsa's soft melody of encouragement. I imagined her laughter echoing in the air, the way it brightened even the darkest of moments. Lila, I whispered into the cavern, willing her spirit to echo back. That a rush of warmth blossomed in my chest, tethering me to memories of our shared moments. The silly songs we sang, the dreams we whispered under the stars, they came flooding back, illuminating my heart with a soothing light. You're not lost. We're coming for you. The shadows recoiled, hissing in frustrated disbelief, but instead of fear, I felt an ember of hope sparking anew. Amelia mirrored my focus, eyes closed as she inhaled deeply, conjuring her own memories. The day we shared that picnic by the river, she recalled, her voice stronger. The warmth of the sun, her laughter wrapping us like a comforting embrace. The air thickened around us, crackling with energy as our collective memories wove together like a tapestry. I opened my eyes and saw the shadows flickering, growing chaotic as they struggled under the weight of our shared light. More, I urged, desperation tangling in my thoughts. We can do this. Just then, an echo of laughter broke through the suffocating darkness, but it was not Lilith's. The haunting cackle slithered into the chamber like smoke, carried by a chilling breeze. Pathetic. The voice taunted, a twisted mirth enveloping us. You really believe love can break chains forged in fear? I faltered, my resolve weakening as chaos swirled around us. No, Amelia shouted, stepping forward. We will not be consumed by darkness. Suddenly, in a surge of defiance, I joined her, and we shouted in unison, Lila. The syllable resonated through the chamber, a powerful call that echoed far beyond our immediate surroundings. For a moment, silence reigned, a tense stillness that hung heavy in the air before the shadows convulsed violently. Lines of light radiated from the tome and encapsulated us, pushing against the dark sea, threatening to drown us in doubt. Yet as we fought to maintain our hold, I felt a familiar pulse in my chest that was unmistakable. The urge to retreat screamed within me, feeding on memories of past failures and lost battles. The specter of doubt flickered around us, whispering venomous thoughts that clawed at the edges of my courage. You can't save her. You never could. My heart pounded painfully against my ribcage. What if they were right? What if this was a fool's errand? Amelia, I began, a tremor in my voice. Don't you dare waver now, she said fiercely, her grip tightening on mine. Remember how much we love her. She's worth every ounce of our fight. With a renewed sense of determination blooming within me, I recalled Lilith's spirit, the love that had radiated between us, overwhelming even the darkest shadows. I expelled my fears, letting the light of that memory spill forth and wrap around us like a barrier, pushing back the advance of darkness. But that's when the shadows surged with an intensity one hadn't anticipated, colliding against our memories like thunder crashing through clouds. A terrifying force pulled at my heart, causing my breath to hitch. It whispered sweetly, "You cannot escape what you are, what you've done. Lila is already gone." The walls of the chamber shook, the foundations crumbling around us. An indecipherable energy pulled at my essence, not just threatening to shatter our connection, but threatening to expose my most guarded truths. I felt the fragility of the moment, and with the chaos closing in, I turned to Amelia. We may not be strong enough. As the shadows writhed around us, the laughter intensified, a cacophony that filled the chamber with despair. But as I looked into Amelia's eyes, filled with unwavering determination, something struck me. A clarity tinged with hope, a sudden realization that we had come this far. Before I could second-guess myself, I shouted, "We choose love." The shadows faltered, their wickedness momentarily stifled, as if they lacked a defense against the purity woven into our intentions. But the laughter hurtled back, deeper and more mocking, echoing like a soul's lament. "Choose it all you want. Lilith's fate was sealed the moment your fear took root." Then, amidst the chaos, the shadows twisted and reformed, and for an agonizing moment, I thought I could see Lilith's face, ethereal and serene, but then it dissolved into darkness. A devastating reality washed over me, shattering my momentary resolve. And just as I began to weave the light back into my heart, the walls imploded, spiraling us into a void of sheer despair, where the echo of our shared fears wrapped tendrils around my chest, choking all sense of hope. But even as the darkness threatened to engulf us, I caught a glimpse of a faint silhouette standing just beyond the reach of shadows. "Find her," the voice urged, unmistakably Lilith's. "Fight for me." And somewhere within that raw desperation, a spark ignited, a fierce flame of determination surging against the tide of despair. We hadn't lost yet. If there was a chance to save Lila, I had no choice but to take it. Steeling my resolve, I met Amelia's gaze, awakening a fire within us both. "Together, we will break this darkness," I vowed, my voice unwavering. But deep in the layers of shadows, a new whisper emerged. "It's not just Lila you must save, it's much more." The chilling revelation wrapped around me, a sensation of dread creeping into my thoughts as I prepared for the next perilous leg of this journey, uncertain of what awaited us on the other side. All I could do was grip Amelia's hand tightly and leap into the darkness, praying that our love would guide us home. The void consumed us, pulling me deeper into the abyss as I fought against the whispers that danced in the shadows. With every heartbeat, I felt their presence, their longing to drown me in uncertainty. But as the dark surrounded us, I insisted on the memories that had brought me here, the laughter, the dreams, the very essence of Lila that flickered like fireflies in my mind. "Lila," I shouted into the blackness, allowing her name to propel me forward. The darkness quivered, the pulse of energy shifting as if my voice had stirred something in the depths. Amelia summoned her own strength beside me, our hands intertwined, both our hearts aligned with determination. In that moment, the chamber exploded with light, a dazzling white shatter that enveloped us, chasing the shadows back like mist under the rising sun. We emerged into a vast expanse, and the power felt palpable. Lila's energy hung like zoetrope images coalescing into shape just beyond our reach. "We're here," I called, hope spilling out of me like a waterfall, beautiful and unrelenting. As the blinding light faded, I found myself standing in a meadow, lush with vivid color, and at its center, the outline of a figure began to crystallize from the vibrant surroundings. The sun poured down, bathing everything in warmth, and the air felt alive, crackling with possibility. Lila, I breathed, forcing myself to step closer, each stride heavy yet buoyant. Our shared memories had paved the way here. The lush green swayed as if welcoming me, coaxing the life I sought. Just a few more steps. But before I could reach her, a wave of shadows crashed at the edge of the meadow, twisting and roiling like a storm determined to pull me back. Go back, they snarled, clothed in darkness, the faces gnarled with the pain of their own regrets and fears. You cannot save her. No, I shouted back defiantly, fueling my voice with every ounce of love and remembrance I carried. I will not abandon her. And with that affirmation, I surged forward, the warmth of the sun igniting a shield around me, forming a barrier that shimmered with energy. Lila, I cried out once more, desperation clinging to my every breath. As I neared the figure, I realized it wasn't merely her shape I saw, but all the glimmers of our shared laughter and stolen moments illuminating her spirit. You're not alone. I'm here. Light poured from my heart, the tethering love weaving intricate patterns around us, dissolving the growing shadows into wisps of smoke. At last, the figure before me sharpened into focus, revealing the features of the girl I had vowed to protect. Jake Lillis' voice emerged as a soft melody, filled with the kind of hope that shatters despair. Her eyes sparkled with a light so profound I felt myself weeping. I thought I lost you. Never, I vowed, taking the last few steps to her side, the world around us blossoming into existence. In that intimate embrace, the meadow thrummed with life, as if the earth itself rejoiced at our union. Yet shadows still lurked at the fringes, their whispers hinting at doubt. Love cannot conquer all, they hissed, coiling around our feet. But Lila, shaking off the obsidian tendrils that threatened to pull her back, stood resolutely, her gaze steady and fearless. Together, she asserted, voice a beacon of light that pierced the darkness. We stood shoulder to shoulder, our hands entwined, the very essence of light cascading from our bond like rays of the sun. We will show them that love is a force to be reckoned with. The moment resonated, powerful and electric. As we leaned into each other, pooling the energy we shared, the space around us began to Crumpleaf Meadow stretching and bending, a reflection of our strength solidifying against the shadows. The echoes of the voices grew weaker, desperate to flee. You will not win, they shrieked, but the last grasping tendrils of darkness felt lighter, as if a mighty weight was being stripped away with every moment we stood together. Watch us, I declared, my heart roaring against the quieting chaos. We are love. In that moment, the world shifted. The shadows began to dissolve, melting like wax in the sunlight, their power disintegrating against the combined warmth of our love. I could feel Lilith's essence melding with mine, a harmonizing force grounding us both, breaking the chains that had bound her for so long. The meadow expanded into infinity. We stood amidst brighter colors. Laughter echoed like music in the air, and flowers bloomed like the very breath of life. As I gazed at Lila, our memories intertwined, every precious moment leading us to this climax of hope restored. The last remnants of darkness retreated, their voices fading into the distance as our love surged through the very fabric of the world. Is this real? Lila whispered, a flicker of vulnerability piercing through her confidence. Yes, I assured her, brushing a stray hair from her face. It's everything we've fought for. You are home, Lila. As we embraced, I felt the weight of our battles lifting, the journey of our hearts intertwining at last woven into a tapestry that echoed our realities. And when I pulled back, all fear was displaced by the overwhelming weight of acceptance, understanding the bond we had forged together. We were more than just two souls caught up in the tempest of despair. We were the light, an unstoppable force against the darkness that had sought to claim us. As we stood beneath the brilliant sun, I knew nothing could tear us apart again, and together we would face whatever awaited beyond this moment, hand in hand, love illuminating our path. In our hearts, we understood. We had not just faced the storm. We had learned to dance in the rain, and in doing so, had claimed our lives anew. Together, forever, I promised, sealing it with a kiss that felt like the culmination of every shared breath, every heartbeat anchoring our connection through a web of love stronger than fear. And as we broke apart, Our laughter rang out into the horizon, echoing an unbreakable truth. In the tapestry of our lives, love was the greatest strength. We would dance together again, and as I looked into her eyes, I felt the warmth of tomorrow unfurl before us, radiant and boundless. Let's go, Lila smiled, pulling me into the brilliance of the future, her spirit soaring free, and the memory of our struggles fading into the sunlight behind us. And that was how I knew with every beat of my heart, every moment we shared, would always find our way back to each other, no matter the shadows lurking. Together we were unstoppable. Together we were home.